Such statesmen, who held a high status in the history of Uzbek statehood, lived in the past, and one could speak about them for hours.
Fayzulla Khojayev, one of the founders of modern Uzbek statehood and a political leader, is a vivid example of this. At the end of the 19th century, the Bukhara Emirate was a semi-independent state subordinate to the Russian Empire. Although the Emir of Bukhara was formally considered the ruler of the state, de facto he could not act beyond the interests of Russia in foreign and partially in domestic matters. In New Bukhara, that is, the city of Kogan, located 18 kilometers south of Bukhara, there was a special residence of the Russian emperor, and in this small town the laws of the Russian Empire, not those of the emirate, were in force. For this reason, in many cases individuals who committed crimes in the emirate, especially political offenders, would typically flee to the city of Kogan and escape punishment. After Khodjayev in 1866 and Samarkand in 1868 were captured by the Russian occupying forces, a large part of the Zarafshan River, which was the main pillar of the emirate's economy, came under the control of the Russian Empire. Russia's cotton-growing policy in Central Asia led to a reduction in river water and caused severe difficulties for agriculture in the Bukhara Emirate. Under these conditions, livestock farming developed in the emirate. Bukhara merchants established a profitable trade in livestock products, particularly in caracal breeding. In 1888, the laying of railway tracks from Samarkand into the territory of the Bukhara Emirate stimulated Bukhara merchants to become more active in the global market. From then on, it became possible to easily transport and sell local goods to Russia and European countries by train. Among the notable merchants of Bukhara were the sons of Kosim Khodja, Polat Khodja, and Ubaydullah Khodja, who were particularly engaged in the trade of caracal fur. The Khodja brothers and other merchants were able to elevate Bukhara caracal furs to the level of a state brand in the world market. They regularly participated in international fur fairs held in Russian cities such as Astrakhan and Nizhny Novgorod, and according to sources, they had trade shops in the Ottoman Empire, England, France, and Germany. In particular, Ubaydullah Khodja became a millionaire through his wealth and investments. In addition to caracal breeding, he was also involved in the trade of cotton and jewelry. He had a large commercial office in Moscow. The future statesman Fayzulla Khojayev was born on July 1st, 1896, in the household of the prominent merchant Ubaydullah Khodja. Since Ubaydullah Khodja was primarily occupied with trade, the early upbringing of young Fayzulla was initially overseen by his mother, Rayhan Bibi. Rayhan Bibi came from a family of artisans residing in the Peshku district of Bukhara and was a wise and intelligent woman. According to sources, Fayzulla Khojayev learned his first lessons directly from his mother. In 1905, when Fayzulla reached the age of 10, Ubaydullah Khodja enrolled him in one of Bukhara's prestigious madrasas. During 2 years at the madrasa, Fayzulla thoroughly studied the fundamental principles of Islam, as well as Sharia and arithmetic. It is difficult to say that Fayzullah's childhood was spent playing with peers. On one hand, he could be seen attentively watching his teacher delivering lectures at the madrasa, while on the other, he might be driving a car imported from Russia by Ubaydullah Khodja with a seriousness uncommon for a child. The Khodja family, having seen Europe, the Western world, and its relatively prosperous and advanced civilization, realized that madrasa education alone was not sufficient for their children to grow into accomplished individuals and worthy heirs of business. They had also observed in the West that entrepreneurs educated their children at prestigious schools to prepare them for leadership and success in commerce.
Understanding this, the Khoja brothers, as merchants, also made every effort to ensure that their children received a good education.
Thus, in 1907, Abdullah Khoja took Fayzulla to Moscow, where he hired a private tutor to continue his education. From 1907 to 1912, under the guidance of a private tutor of German nationality, Fayzulla mainly studied secular subjects, particularly Russian language and literature, arithmetic, and commercial sciences. This knowledge later played an important role in his activities as a statesman. In Moscow, Fayzulla Khojayev became familiar not only with Russia, but also with the Western world. He began analyzing the causes of development and decline in various countries. Reflecting on the political situation, impoverished economy, underdeveloped industry, and widespread illiteracy in his homeland of Bukhara, he started thinking about possible solutions. Such ideas brought him closer to the Bukhara Jadits. Apparently, while in Moscow, Fayzulla corresponded with his cousins studying in Istanbul, Usman Khoja, Otala Khoja, and other Jadits. By the winter of 1912, Abdullah Khoja fell ill, and his condition began to worsen. Consequently, Fayzulla was summoned from Moscow to Bukhara to manage the family's trade affairs. The 16-year-old adolescent immediately took on the responsibilities awaiting him in Bukhara. Taking advantage of Abdullah Khoja's illness, his business managers in Khodjayev and other cities had colluded with corrupt Russian colonial officials to halt the export of goods. Fayzulla independently resolved these problems. Upon his return from Moscow, Abdullah Khoja began to see his son not just as a merchant, but increasingly as a political statesman, based on his words and conduct. Sensing the end of his life, Abdullah Khoja, following the advice of Bukhara's religious scholars, decided to perform the sacred Hajj pilgrimage. At that time, wealthy Central Asian Muslims traveled to Hajj via train from Bukhara through Tashkent, Orenburg, and Odessa, and then by ship from Odessa to the port of Jeddah in Ottoman Arabia. Abdullah Khoja, accompanied by his son Fayzulla and several attendants, rented a train carriage and set out for Bukhara. Unfortunately, he passed away at the age of 54 halfway, upon reaching Odessa in Ukraine. Fayzulla brought his father's body back to Bukhara and buried him according to Muslim traditions. After his father's death, young Fayzulla Khojayev's life changed completely, and he began to develop as a political statesman.